Hamas achieves victory, then the world becomes a much more violent place because Iran will have validated its strategy of using proxies to attack Israel and through Israel attack the United States. I mean, Iran calls Israel the little Satan and the United States the great Satan. It has an intention to hurt the United States and its interests. But this is also the fact that Israel has never started a war. It's never fought a war of aggression. It's fought only wars to defend itself. And how the mass media has discounted the fact that Hezbollah, based on which it doesn't do anything without Iran's permission, Hezbollah attacked Israel on October 8th and has not stopped attacking Israel since. And there's 80,000 Israelis who haven't been in their homes for 6 months, living in hotels in central Israel because of the threat that Hezbollah is attacking on the border. And that is all part of Iran's ultimate plan. And I'm tired of thinking about what Iran will do and trying to deter Iran. It's time to take more than a deterrence perspective, because that's shown and is showing in real time in Israel not to be working. And again, the war in the north could end today if Hezbollah would stop attacking Israel and back up to the agreed UN Security Council resolution to back up to the Litani River and stop attacking. But this is about Iran, and this is really the future of the Middle East, and whether there's going to continue to be violence in the world, especially when you have actors like Iran, whose intention is to cause this violence. This is Iran's strategy, and if something's not done directly to stop it, it will continue. More October 7th style attacks, more hostage taking, more rocket attacks, not just on Israel, but the US, to include their attacks through their proxies on US servicemen in Iraq and Syria. Clearly, what's been done up to this point is not working. I am not saying I'm for direct attacks on Iranian soil, but I'm saying that the strategy that's been used so far, by all reason, is not working. So something more has to be done to prevent Iran's strategy through the use of proxies, namely Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and Shia-backed militias in Iraq and other places, has to be prevented and action taken to stop it, whether that's financially, economically, diplomatically. More can be done. And the first step could be done is stop giving Iran billions of dollars to support its strategy. I would hope that any next administration completely changes a long trend of appeasing Iran and its actions in the Middle East. As a military strategist and somebody who's studied the area and the threats as well, is that strategically, number one is that Hamas cannot obtain a victory in this war. And if it does, Israel will continue to be at a real threat, and I think the world discounts this, a real existential threat on a daily basis. If Hamas is allowed to survive, if Iran is allowed to implement this use of proxies to attack Israel, October 7th changed everything. It changed the strategic security approach to Israel's threats. What that looks like, I don't know. They call it the day after, but there can be no day after until the day after Hamas is destroyed and the hostages are returned home. Then you do have to move forward with a different security approach to the threat of radical Islamic groups who have the sole purpose to destroy Israel. And that includes diplomatic relations with the Arab world. It includes a different situation in Gaza and other places but there has to be a viable partner in that approach. This is again, the great lie that all the instability that Israel has is Israel's fault. And it's actually the opposite of, you shouldn't have to justify your existence to move forward in the world. everything before October 7th was hopeful. The Israel relationship with Egypt, Jordan, the moving forward of a stronger relationship with Saudi Arabia. There was a lot of hope there. What also gives me hope is the United States, despite even some of the political statements, has stood with Israel in its time of need. That gave me a lot of hope as an American. Israel has had to stand alone many times in its short history. It has been attacked by 5 nations at one time, and it has had to stand alone. And when the U.S. administration early in this war said Israel has had to stand alone, it never will have to stand alone again. That gave me a lot of hope as an American that the America will stand with Israel to defend itself and its right to exist. Unfortunately, we're not only in a world that Churchill talked about where a lie can travel the world before the truth puts its pants on. We're also in a world where the entire world is looking for anything negative in this war to paint Israel as somehow intentional in any action, despite the overwhelming truth that that's not what is happening. But the world not only wants that lie to spread, it grasps at anything that even would look like Israel is causing harm when it's actually, and then fails to mention anything that the enemy in the environment does. This war could end tomorrow. Hamas would give the hostages back. It could end tomorrow if Hamas unilaterally surrendered and de-armed and gave up its grand strategy to destroy Israel and to kill all the Jewish people. But Israel has to fight the disinformation. It has to immediately, like it did in this case with the World Central Kitchen event, immediately look into whether it was them and whether and what happened, and then inform the world. It can't help the fact that, for some reason, there were immense amounts of information immediately spread across the world, but it has to fight that in that narrative. It has to report immediately what it knows, unlike any other military ever has to in the past, because of the ubiquitous access to sensors. And this is why urban combat is the hardest form of combat any military could fight, is because there's no other environment on the planet where there are millions of cell phones that can immediately broadcast and distort the truth before the truth has woken up.